This is the government news brief for Thursday, November 19, 2015. In the news, local government elections return to Guyana, government looking to ensure small businesses can bid for government contracts, and civic education to be reintroduced. I am Azim Khan. These and other stories in this edition of the government news brief. After waiting for more than 16 years, Guyanese will now be heading to the polls to elect their local authorities. More in this Sanika Thorne report.
Last held in 1994, local government elections will resume during the fourth quarter of 2016. Already, preparations have started for the long overdue elections. The Guyana Elections Commission (GECOM) has advertised the claims and objection process regarding the preliminary list of voters for each of the respective constituencies. The coalition government has made a promise to the Guyanese people that it would ensure the return of local government elections.
It has always been the position of the administration that we are committed and we are desirous of having these elections held as soon as GECOM have advised us that they are in a position to hold these elections. So nothing has changed in this regard. We will now indicate to GECOM formally that the administration is desirous of having these elections held at the earliest possible date. And once we are in receipt of a reply from GECOM, then I as Minister will proceed to name a date for the holding of these elections.
Local government elections that were due since 1999 were continuously being put off. The lengthy delay in holding the local government polls resulted in many local authorities not functioning properly, as elected officials would have stopped serving for a variety of reasons. Since coming in office in May of this year, the government passed the remaining local authorities amendment bills that cleared the way for the holding of local government elections.
Now that all of the hurdles have been addressed and cleared, we, in conjunction with the aggressive voter education campaign that has to be launched and conducted by GECOM, it is incumbent on us, that is the APNU AFC coalition, to heighten our preparations on the ground and to mobilize our candidates and to seek the process of identifying and selecting our candidates for the 71 local authority areas. So that relates to the second part of these elections. The first part is the responsibility of GECOM to make the preparations and the organization, and the responsibility of us as a contesting political party is to ensure that we have a field of competent, capable, quality individuals to comprise both our slate for the proportional representation component of the councils, as well as identifying individuals, whether they are active supporters or members of our coalition, or whether we would support independent candidates, a consideration that we are open to, but a determination which will be made on a case-by-case basis in each one of the 585 constituencies that will be up for grabs.
For many young adults, the 2016 local government election would be a first-time experience.
The rapid rate of climate change in the world continues to consume the attention of world leaders. The focus is on ways of mitigating the effects. In Guyana, the government is sparing no effort to this cause. Shanta Gobadan reports on how Guyana is preparing to participate in the upcoming COP21 conference in Paris.
Guyana is getting ready to participate at COP21. This international conference of world leaders to examine climate change takes place in Paris on December 7 and 8. A task force to advance Guyana's engagement in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change process was set up by Cabinet in August. It is to ensure that Guyana's position on its intended nationally determined contribution will be completed. This will put Guyana in a better position to participate meaningfully at the Paris meeting.
We must, however, acknowledge that this issue of environmental protection and climate change and impact mitigation is not to be treated with a cursory glance and must be embraced by all stakeholders. It is in Guyana's best interest that we stand united, confident in what we have to offer the world and what we seek to protect for the generations of Guyanese to come.
Government's vision for a green economy is solely based on protecting the environment and ensuring that the country plays a greater role in mitigating climate change effects. The country's delegation to COP21 will include representatives from government, civil society, indigenous groups, and youth.
The safeguarding of our forests will make a tremendous difference in climate change impact within the next decade. Therefore, there is an urgent need for Guyana and all countries to undertake policies and actions that are sustainable and are respectful of the environment.
Guyana is highly vulnerable to climate change, especially rising sea levels. This would affect its coastland that is below sea level at high tide. Changes in weather patterns would also affect Guyana's agriculture sector. The conference is expected to see over 750 cross-sector participants from business, government, investors, United Nations, non-governmental organizations, and civil society. Shanta Goberdan with this Government News Brief.
The government through the Ministry of Business is focusing on developing small businesses. In this report, Shanta Goberdan looks at how the government intends to ensure all small businesses can get a piece of the public purse.
The Small Business Act stipulates that 20% of all public contracts awarded must go to small businesses. It is the intention of the Ministry of Business to implement this provision by instituting a program that prepares small businesses to access public funding.
There's a lot of money. Government is the biggest spender in our economy, and there's potentially $15 billion out there a year that can be accessed by small businesses if a proper program were put in place to actually give effect to that clause in our laws.
Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu has on several occasions pledged the administration's continued support towards establishing the framework for a level playing field, one which will allow equal access by both local and foreign investors to concessions and grants for the development of their businesses.
Our government recognizes that entrepreneurship is necessary to get young people into small businesses as self-employed and as creators of wealth. We recognize also that government must play a key role in ensuring that local investors enjoy the same benefits and concessions as foreign investors, what we call the even playing field.
The Ministry of Business was established to ensure that the investment climate is improved, investments are promoted both locally and abroad, and that businesses have a level playing field to operate, thus resulting in the best possible chance of success. The ministry is looking at transparency, fairness, equity, and good governance in particular as the means of promoting confidence in the economy. Shanta Goberdan with its Government News Brief.
The government is looking at ways of reintroducing civic education. This is to foster a greater understanding of the rights and responsibilities as citizens of this country. More in this Paul McAdam report.
Civic education is seen as vital for the unity and development of any nation's citizens. In Guyana, the Ministry of Social Cohesion is moving to reintroduce this key subject to youths and others across the 10 regions. The move will enable them to develop themselves and the country as they gain knowledge of their duties and rights as citizens of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
I believe that by 2020, we would have achieved quite a lot. Because I can tell you, going around in the regions, the people are very responsive, they are participatory. I have not had a failure in any of those regions that I've been to have my sensitization programs. And I think that they are responding positively to it because the people want the togetherness.
The minister added that the intention is to ensure that all Guyanese, especially youths, are equipped with the necessary knowledge of what it takes to be a Guyanese and to understand the importance of unity.
There might be occasions where you will have individuals instigating it negatively. But all in all, I believe that 2020, we are going to be able to take Guyana to another level. I believe that by then, people will recognize that this is what we need. We need national unity for development. We need to have a good life for all Guyanese. And to have a good life, we've all got to cooperate. We've got to work together. Political persuasion doesn't mean anything at this point in time. Because if we are to focus on political persuasion and ethnic relations and so on, we are going to be in serious trouble, as we have been.
Since its launch, the Ministry of Social Cohesion has embarked on a series of public consultations nationwide and is examining legislation to bolster its efforts. The ministry will be utilizing a community-driven approach to develop communities and regions so that avenues are created for persons to participate in the decision-making process and outcomes in programs and projects that the ministry will implement. Civic education in a democracy is education in self-government. Democratic self-government means that citizens are actively involved in their own governance and they do not passively accept the dictums of others or submit to the demands of others.
To better education output in the hinterland, the Education Ministry is currently engaged in broad-based consultations, targeting communities and their needs. These are to be addressed in the government's Hinterland Education Improvement Program, as you hear in this Paul McAdam report.
The ministry recognizes that more emphasis needs to be placed on the quality of education delivered in the hinterland as a whole. It is against this background that the Hinterland Education Improvement Program was launched. It was formulated to determine the gaps that exist in providing quality education and good learning outcomes.
What is key is that there is a buy-in in relation to all of the relevant stakeholders and parties, all of the related ministries such as Indigenous Affairs, Ministry of Communities, and all of those parties are on board, and that we have a plan that is very relevant, that can be implemented with the input of all of these individuals. For example, Region 8, education alone would not be able to address some of the challenges, the real challenges that we face on the ground in that region. And so we are in the process now of devising a multi-sectoral approach to addressing the needs of these hinterland regions in relation to education that really can reflect all of the variables that ultimately will help us to see improved performance.
The program consists of 5 components, namely improving the quality of teacher education, aligning teaching learning resources to improve students' outcomes, improving physical facilities, fostering community alliances, and strengthening management and supervision in the hinterland. Currently, there are approximately 250 schools at all levels, nursery, primary, and secondary in hinterland regions. The coalition government, with international support, continues to place significant emphasis on the development of education in the hinterland regions. This is seen as critical to the alleviation of poverty and improving the lives of Ghana's indigenous peoples.
That has brought us to the end of the government news brief for Thursday, November 19, 2015. Remember that all our programs can be viewed on our website. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube.